oil. And guess who else is in there? There's a reason why the Iranians in Russia, soon to be, if Vladimir Putin has his way, once again the Soviet Union. There's a reason that they're forming these unions. And the reason this has come about is because we have a president that has withdrawn the United States from the world stage. We have a president that has withdrawn the United States as the leader of the free world. Like it or not, it's a role that we have embraced. We are supposed to be that light up, that shining light up on a hill called freedom. We are supposed to be the country that protects freedom, that spreads freedom around the world, introduces freedom to countries, so that you can be an entrepreneur. You can be whoever you want to be. You can be successful. But yet we have elements in our country today trying to take that away from us. All in the name of wealth redistribution, socialized medicine, centralized government, government-controlled centralized schools. You see where all this is going, ladies and gentlemen. It's all heading, and you can call it what you want to. You know, there was a time that liberalism actually fought for the freedom of people. But classic liberalism has been hijacked, and it's been turned into the progressive movement that believes in wealth redistribution, that believes that global warming is settled science, when that is furthest from the truth. Global warming is still a theory, ladies and gentlemen, but yet when you listen to the Obama administration, they are preaching it from the mountaintop that it is settled science. It is not. Follow the money. It's all about control. It's all about power. Now, a lot of you guys are sitting out there going, wow, Dan, there's a lot to this. There's a lot to absorb here. These are facts, folks. When you listen to United Nations representatives speak, when you listen to Barack Obama speak, Hillary Clinton speak, when you listen to Pope Francis, who is the leader of the largest Christian denomination in the world today, the Roman Catholic Church, talking about using climate change in the name of social justice and wealth redistribution. Folks, that's their words, not mine. Those are the very terms they use. All in the name of fairness. It's all about power. It's all about centralizing the government. It's all about making you being subjects of the state. Where once again, ladies and gentlemen, you have no freedoms. There will be no Constitution of the United States to protect you if this progressive plague, this progressive cancer is allowed to take hold and continue eating at the very foundation of this great nation, which I still believe is the greatest nation on earth. We've got problems today, folks, but it's nothing we can't deal with. Make the right decisions today. Because if we don't, history has shown what will happen to this great nation of ours. Now on that, I'm going to address another reason why I've brought my show back. It's because I'm hearing a lot of bullshit out there, folks. And I'm sorry, that's the only term that I can come up with. It's nothing but crap coming from members of our own conservative media. You know, there's no longer such a thing as the mainstream media. The mainstream media ceased to exist with the internet, because there is so much news and information out there. It's just hard to grasp, hard to really get your mind around. There's also a lot of misinformation out there. There's also a lot of conspiracy theories out there. And folks, that drives me nuts. You know, most people in the United States today still identify as being, guess what, conservative. They still want to pursue the American dream. They still want to open up their own business. They still want to see their children get a good education. They want to see their children be successful. They want to give a hand up, not a handout to those folks that need it. And yes, there are folks out there that we as human beings need to take care of that cannot take care of themselves. A lot of times that's the brave men and women that have served our country through no fault of their own, that volunteered to protect our very fabric, our way of life, so that we can pursue life, liberty, and happiness, to protect the Constitution of the United States. But yet we see them being thrown to the wayside. Our veterans, our men and women that are serving today deserve so much more than that. And it comes to us in the conservative media. You know, there's the liberal media out there. The liberal media is what I'll consider, and once again, I'll tell you, there's no such thing as the mainstream media. The liberal media is, you know, made up of the major television networks, newspapers, etc. The conservative media is made up of radio shows such as my own, which, folks, I'm very humbled. I have a very large audience. You know, I have 25,000 people a night listen to this show. I have over 100 phone lines, and every single one of them is full right now. But the point being is, sometimes I'm preaching to the choir. There's so many more people out there that we have to reach and get the message out to them about this progressive plague trying to take hold of our country and how dangerous it truly is. But yet, I hear folks on my very side of the aisle that are talking about nonsense. They're still talking about the Illuminati, the Bilderbergs, Bohemian Grove. Folks, if you've got a radio show and you want to talk about that crap, please take it late night. Okay? But if you want to be a serious journalist, a serious commentator, and you want to make a difference, you've got to concentrate on the truth. You've got to concentrate at getting to the bottom and uncovering the truth. We've got to get to the bottom of Benghazi. We've got to get to the bottom of the email scandal. We've got to get to the bottom of the IRS scandal. But folks, we can't do that if you're not taken seriously. If you want to talk nonsense, fine. Advertise your show as a comedy show or as a fiction show. We don't have time to listen to crap and nonsense, folks. There's too much at stake. The future of our nation is at stake. If you want to be a serious journalist, by God, do it. Get out there and ask the hard questions that the people want the answers to. Believe it or not, and I'll be honest with you, I have to be, people are not just going to sit here and listen to me. I have to get to the subject matters that they want to listen to, that are important. And I have found that my listeners find that the future of our country is important. that the future, that their children and grandchildren's future is important. But if you want to chase down conspiracy theories, if you want to continue arguing that Barack Obama was born in Kenya, that he's not really an American, if you want to continue arguing as to whether Barack Obama is a Muslim, a Christian, or whatever, you're barking up the wrong damn tree. Who cares? I don't give a damn if Barack Obama is a Christian or a Muslim. I personally think the man has no faith. I personally believe that the man has no religion. He does not believe in God. But that's his personal choice, his personal business. Who gives a damn? It's too late now if he was born in Kenya or if he was born in Hawaii. Folks, that is such nonsense. But yet today, I heard somebody talking about it. Why? Why, folks? I hear people on our side of the aisle, conservatives, now trying to make the argument that Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are not American citizens. Are you kidding me? That they're unqualified to be president of the United States. Let's set the record straight once and for all. Barack Obama is a citizen of the United States. His mother never renounced her citizenship. That makes him a citizen. Like it or not, folks. That's the way it is. That's the truth. Doesn't matter where he was born. Same thing applies to Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, etc. Enough of the nonsense. Trust me, folks, people that want to hear about that type of stuff, they're going to be listening to George Norrie, Art Bell, and I thoroughly enjoy that type of stuff. I love listening to the UFO stories. But you know what? It's entertainment. We're here to make a difference, folks. We're here to get down to business. And that's what we're doing tonight. We're here to fight for the future of our country. If you're not willing to do that, then you need to get out. You need to walk away. There's too much at stake here, folks. I love this country. I want this country to be here for my children and my grandchildren. I want this country to be here for future generations. I want this country to be here for my children to be whoever they choose to be. I want my daughters to have the opportunity to be president of the United States. I want my sons to have the opportunity to be whatever they want to be. If one of my sons chooses to be a garbage truck driver, so be it. As long as they are striving to be the best garbage truck driver they can be. One of my children wants to be the president of a university, so be it. I hope that they can make changes so that our future generations are better educated and not indoctrinized. That is the fight we're facing, folks. It's time to put up or shut up. If you want to talk nonsense, you want to talk New World Order, you want to talk about the Bilderbergers, you want to talk about, Bohemian Grove, you want to talk and say, Barack Obama was a space alien born in Kenya, so be it. Take your show somewhere else. Don't advertise it as a news show or a conservative media show because you're full of crap. too much at stake here, folks. The time is now, not tomorrow. And folks, I come to you tonight. And I'm coming to every American listening to this show tonight. It's time for you to get your butt up off the couch and become a part of the solution, not the problem. If you're too lazy to get your ass to the voting booth, I don't want to hear from you. If you're too lazy to get your ass involved in your children's education, I don't want to hear from you. If you're too lazy to know what's going on in your community, I don't want to hear from you. If you're too lazy to get to know your neighbors, I don't want to hear from you. If you're too lazy to care about the future of our country, I don't want to hear from you. You're part of the problem, not the solution. It's time to get up, folks. Time to be a part. The time is now. The time is now, folks. I'd like to remind everybody, if you'd like to join in the conversation tonight, believe it or not, I actually have one phone line open. The number is area code 516-666-9908. Once again, the call-in number is area code 516-666-9908. Remember to press 1 so that my producer will know that you want to be on the air tonight. And folks, we want to hear from you. I want you to be a part of this show. My listeners have long been a part of this show. We have found a lot of solutions to ideas. We've found a lot of solutions to different things. And the time is now. It's time to make this, as Ronald Reagan so eloquently stated to start off the show tonight, to make this one nation under God once again. Now, before we get to my wonderful friend Liz Lur, we've got one caller that wants to come on to speak with us, and so we're going to get to the caller. Hold on a second. We're getting it here. Here we go. Da-da-da-da-da. Area code 781. You're on News and Commentary with Dan Butcher. What is your question or comment, please?
Wow, you actually let me through?
Yeah! What is up, my friend? What's going on, John?
Well, first of all, I want to welcome you back to the air. It's been we've been missing you, so the fact that you're back is gratifying for those of us who missed it.
Thank you, sir.
You know, you're missing the whole point, though, and you know, it's not often I argue with you when it comes to politics, but about Barack Obama being born in Kenya and why it's so important. Because it sells T-shirts. That's the only reason why it's so important. You can sell T-shirts on eBay that says a village in Kenya is missing its idiot with a depiction of a guy with huge ears. That's the only reason why it's so important.
Well, Sean, in all seriousness, you know what? You're right about that. Because that has become a big business. It has become a big business to sell stuff like that, to sell bumper stickers, to sell T-shirts and stuff like that. And so you know that's called capitalism, though. and that's all fine and dandy. But once again, I have reached my boiling point, my friend, and I think you have sensed that. The last couple of times that I've been on the air with you when we did our special on Benghazi on SHR Media, as well as when I was on Sack Edge Radio, to reintroduce my audience. Of course, this is the one and only Sack Edge Sean, a.k.a. Sean Lewis of SHR Media. He's the co-host of Sack Edge Radio, one of the outstanding conservative shows out there. You never know what you're you're going to get. But Sean, even on your own show, I mean, and you and I talked about this. You and Clint have struck up the last couple of shows. Really, you guys have had a more serious tone, a more sense of urgency in your show than what you've had in the past.
Yeah, we've had to. And anyone who listens to us on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHR Media knows that, we enjoy our comedy along with our topics. And, we said at the beginning, it's what makes some of this stomachable, right? So you're not just so frustrated all the time that you go crazy. You have to find the humor in it all. And we do our best to do that for not only our listeners, but for ourselves, and to stay engaged and not burn out. The problem is right now is we are in such a bad place in this country on so many different levels. It's not just one thing, and I keep trying to explain that to people when we talk about President Obama. If there is one issue going on that was a big deal, like say Benghazi happened, but none of the stuff with Syria happened, none of the stuff in the homeland as far as, police officers being executed and civil unrest and all these other things. Say our budget was doing good, the economy was doing good, there was no Lois Lerner incident with the email targeting that looks like it possibly could go back to the White House. All those things go away, and we were just dealing with Benghazi. Okay, things unfortunately happen, and I'm not saying that's an excuse, but we could focus on that one issue but still be able to progress as a nation and actually get things done that we need to get done. Right. This presidency, there is so much that has gone wrong and continues to go wrong, starting with Fast and the Furious, and everyone remembers the Cambridge police officer incident where his friend was arrested, so he felt like he had to have a beer summit. One right after another, and between him saying things that he shouldn't, as president, be sticking his nose into, Cambridge police, Trayvon Martin, stuff like that. I thought if I had a son, it would look like Trayvon Martin. Okay, well, that doesn't mean anything. All that does is divide people further, and then on top of his divisive approach, you now have all these, some call them scandals, I call them problems, legitimate problems that affect our nation, and they're all starting to mount up. And I'll tell you what, folks, after about 6.5 years, or 7 years now, we're just about 7 years, it starts to burn you out a little bit. It starts to wear you out. It can't be funny anymore.
Exactly. Well, Sean, real quick, I'm going to bring on a young lady that, let's face it, Sean, this is who everybody's tuned in to listen to tonight. This is a very good friend, a very, very sweet and dear friend of both you and I. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the airwaves. Please welcome back to my show, the one and the only Liz Lur. Liz, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I just finished my bowl of Wheaties, and I'm ready to go. All the way from the West Coast to Texas and the, United States Capitol. We got our Wheaties, and we're ready to go.
Well, let me do something real quick. I want to make sure I get all my station IDs in here. Once again, you're listening to News and Commentary with Dan Butcher. On the line with me, of course, I have Sean Lewis of SHR Media and Sackheads Radio Show. I have on Liz Lur, and you're listening to this show on shrmedia.com. We did get all the tech issues worked out, so we are live and loud on SHR Media right now. Sean, he drove all over town to make that happen tonight. Quite literally, by the way. Of course, you're on punditpressradio.com, on blogtalkradio.com, on Spreaker.com. What else am I on? I think I about got it all covered for tonight.
iHeartRadio, I don't know.
We'll have the replay. The replay of this show, not this week, beginning next week, will be on iHeartRadio, so we'll be there. I'm not going to do iHeartRadio Live, but we'll have the replay there of the show on iHeartRadio. So, Liz, you and I had some very, we were talking about what we were going to talk about tonight and discussing different things. One of the more interesting things that you brought up that you thought was very interesting was, and this goes to show how twisted and upside down our country has become. And when Caitlyn, a.k.a. Bruce Jenner, has been named Woman of the Year, let me specify, I want to make sure, we want to be honest here, was named Co-Woman of the Year with with the president of Planned Parenthood. So, Liz,
one of them is actually a woman, so we were close.
Yeah. One's a woman, one's a murderer of babies. Yes, I said that, ladies and gentlemen.
She only killed 1 in 6 women, or 1 in 6 girls for 2014. So I don't know.
Only. Oh wow.
Only 1 in 6.
So,
that's just 2014.
So Liz.
But who's
so Liz, what is on your mind tonight?
I have a lot of things on my mind tonight. Obviously, my love is for our veterans. My love is for, making sure that our young ladies in America, we've got 50.8% of the population that are female biologically, and yet we aren't putting up role models that are positive influences for women. And for these young girls, it's like we've got all these superheroes out here for men and for young boys, but what kind of message are we sending people? We're saying, a biological male does a better job, hasn't even been a supposed female for even a year, and yet they do a better job at being a female than any other woman, and particularly when we've got a history-breaking year for women in the military with the 3 women Rangers. My favorite, obviously, is Major Jester, who's 37 years old, 2 children, and she goes back, becomes a Ranger, 3rd woman to complete the Ranger training. And we're not recognizing women like this. We're recognizing Cecile Richards, and we're recognizing Bruce Caitlyn Jenner, and it's just an atrocity. And the fact that you've got these radical feminists that are out there pumping this agenda and sending the message to young girls that you're still not worth it. You're still not viable. We've got a guy that can have some plastic surgery and has a whole bunch of money to make themselves look a certain way, and that's the ideal that we're pumping. And, go ahead.
Let me ask you this real quick, Liz. Because I know that you take a lot of heat for what you stand for, and you take a lot of heat for promoting. Let's face it, really true opportunities for women in this country. What you stand for is the complete opposite of what the likes what I will call the feminazi movement stands for. You believe in the empowerment of women. You believe that women can be successful. They can do whatever they set their minds to, but yet, there's conflicting messages here. Especially from you hear that we need to that we need to pass laws to do this and this and this, but in reality it is helping women to become, quite honestly, to become, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in a lot of cases, to have a lot more self-confidence. I have found that sometimes to be an issue, and stuff like that. So how do you with your message and what you're talking about, how do you overcome the message out there that you hear from the likes of from now, who I affectionately call NAG, the National Association of Gals. But how do we talk to women so that they understand that they can go out there and be what they want to be, that they can be an entrepreneur. That I personally believe that there's a lot of strides being made with women in the military now, that they can be successful in the military. How do you overcome that opposing message, which tends to be very, very negative, Liz, versus what you're talking about is a very, very positive message of empowering women?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is balance, because people want to put everything in a box. They want to identify with something. We've gotten so used to, in this social media generation, it's just like filling out our online profiles. Check this box, check that box. So if you like this, you don't like that. And so we've almost become trained to think that way. And so there's this message of, okay, if you support women in the military, then you must be a radical feminist. You must, want to neuter men. And, I even joke about it. People that follow me on Twitter can see, sometimes I'll make these kind of funny comments, and I'm half joking, but I'm serious, where it's like, I think a lot of women that really have a good perspective and a good balance on things, they're not out there trying to say, we don't want men to be men. It's nothing like that. We're not, in fact, for me, and I can't speak for everyone in the military, but I don't think every woman should be in combat. And that usually shocks people, because they sit there and they hear me be supportive of women warriors, and that's something that's very deep held passion for me. But it's something where it's like, let's have balance, people. Not everyone, just like not every man, can do the job. It's not a uniform that everyone can wear, nor is it some of these jobs and some of the combat positions, not every woman should be in that position. And I fully understand that, and I agree with it. We've just gotten into this ideal that we're either black or we're white. There's no shade of gray. And I think that's where we need to start showing a little discretion, showing a little wisdom, and stop looking at things like you're either this or you're that. There's a way to be a strong woman, and I joke about it all the time. I'm like, I love my heels and putting on my makeup and doing my hair. Girl's got to get her hair did, but I can still huck a rucksack and shoot an M16 like every other male out there and be just as good as a battle buddy. And I think that's the message that we need to send. And that's this idea that when we have young people, I have a very large family. I have a lot of nieces and nephews. And with my nieces, when they're growing up and they're figuring out kind of their place and their identity, it's a thing where I'm trying to encourage them, yeah, you can be tough, but you can be also feminine. And that doesn't mean you go out there like a Kardashian. You can be a Princess Diana, and you can be, a Sybil Levington warrior, and both are okay. And it's all right if you have a little bit of both.
Liz, I want to come back to the Caitlyn Jenner, a.k.a. Bruce Jenner, situation. And, there's a rumor out there that, that Caitlyn is having, some serious thoughts about, hey, I may have made a mistake here. But one of the writers for Pundit Press, a young lady by the name of Jessica Kelly, who is a phenomenal writer for our website, she wrote an article called Dear Glamour Magazine, Caitlyn Jenner represents everything I don't want my daughter to be. And I'm going to take a couple of minutes here to kind of go down what she wrote here and then get your reaction, Liz. She said, my daughter is 11. She's so smart, funny, compassionate, and crafty. She started designing clothing when she was about 8 and aspires to be a fashion designer someday. She's inspired and inspiring. She dreams of designing affordable, fun, flattering clothing for women of all shapes, sizes, races, social ranks. She already has quite the portfolio. Caitlyn Jenner represents everything I don't want my daughter to be. I don't want my daughter to think that in order to become successful and celebrated, she has to have been born a man. I don't want my daughter to think that in order to make headlines, she has to be horribly wealthy and latch to a family who is famous for reasons no one really knows. I don't want my beautiful, strong, self-respecting daughter to think that she must spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on plastic surgery, then get tucked and squeezed into lingerie, airbrushed and prostituted on a magazine cover. I don't want my daughter to believe that in order to be true to herself, she needs to undergo massive, extensive surgery, changing every single feature of her face and body. I don't want my daughter to even know that Caitlyn Jenner exists. I want more for her than that. I want my daughter to learn to embrace who she is, even when she feels uncomfortable in her own skin. I want her to love herself, even when she hates what she sees in the mirror. I want my daughter to be in the ranks with the real Woman of the Year. I want her to be inspired. I want her to find strength from the women soldiers who fight daily for our freedom, leaving their lives, husbands and babies, homes to fight for what they believe in. I want her to find strength from mothers who make it through life-threatening labors, then take home love and raise children with severe disabilities. I want her to look up to the scientists and humanitarians, those who won't sleep until they discover a cure for disease, or who risk their lives trying to end sex trafficking. I want her to see women who have beat breast cancer and be secure in knowing that no matter what life throws at her, she's preceded by women who have faced very odd one. I want my daughter to aspire to reign in the strength of her grandmothers, one who is in the Medical Hall of Fame for her work in molecular pathology, and the other who is a homemaker and raised 5 strong and successful children. I want her to look up to mothers, nuns, artists, police officers, soldiers, musicians, songwriters, poets, teachers, nurses, CEOs, CFOs, dentists, senators, custodians, dog trainers, attorneys, computer programmers. I want her to see women doing amazing things, big to the whole world, or simply big in their own little world, and think, I can do that. I can do great things. I want her to know that she can do anything. She can be anything. She can accomplish anything. Now, once again, that's an excerpt from a great article on Pundit Press right now by Jessica Kelly entitled, Dear Glamour Magazine, Caitlyn Jenner represents everything I don't want my daughter to be. Liz, your thoughts?
Well, it pretty much sums up everything that I think and feel. I mean, if you think about the message that's being sent to young women, and even honestly, even to men, to young men, that women have to look a certain way in order to be desirable. And I had we were talking actually recently about some of the transgender things and also just the issue in general of women going in for all this plastic surgery. And they had said this quote to me. They said that plastic surgery, when it is done from a place of like not loving yourself, is an extraordinary act of personal violence. And that really hit me because I was like, it's true. Like, really at the heart of this matter is we've got our priorities and our values completely wrong. Now, it's one thing if you want to look a little better, but if your worth is in how you look, you've lost everything because we're all aging. We're never getting any younger. And this message that that's the only way that we're worth something is just, I mean, that's why we've got so many problems in the world today. And so I commend and salute Jessica for that article. I think it's an amazing depiction of just exactly the direction that we don't want to go, but until we start standing up and rejecting that message, that continues to be the main theme. We're already getting it through all of the commercials and magazines, through the different social media stuff that's out there, and, you know, we need to stand up and say, enough with this. We're more.
Wow. You know, Liz, it's hard to believe. We're 50 minutes. I have 10 minutes left in tonight's show. Wow.
I'm hoping, can I steal a minute? I wanted to say one
please do. I'm going to give you the next 5 minutes, please.
Awesome. So for anyone that's listening, and I know I have a lot of my military personnel that are following through Twitter that tuned in tonight and from previous shows that Dan and I have done together. So if you're listening, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Liz Lur. That's Luras. And one of the things that I just wanted to briefly touch on, and I tweeted a bunch of this earlier right before the show, is there's a lot of messages that are going out there to veterans that are not true about their benefits. I recently was actually walking into the grocery store, and in Oregon, of course, you can turn in your bottles, and I see these two gentlemen who didn't look like they were financially stable, and I see they've got like little military hats on, and they're turning in their bottles, and I just stopped for one moment and shook the gentleman's hands, and this one gentleman, because I said, thank you for your service, and oh my gosh, like, you know, and they were just so surprised. And as I got to talking to him, the gentleman says to me, and they were older gentlemen, you know, had been in Vietnam, and he says, you know, I was told that if I applied for military benefits that I could not get Social Security or Medicare, and so therefore I've never done it. And he's got his teeth falling out, you know, looked like he was having some health problems. So I just want to say to everyone who is listening tonight, that is a lie from the pit of hell, and there's a lot of problems that are going on with veteran service officers or VSOs not telling our veterans the truth. It does not matter if you are on Medicare or if you are on Social Security, you can still get benefits, and it is a free service to get a veteran service officer to help you get benefits, and it does not matter if you have served in combat or not in combat, or whether you were deployed or not. And so I just wanted to dispel that message. And anyone that's listening that's not following me on Twitter, you can actually call toll-free 1-888-771-4443, and that would give you access to finding a veteran service officer in your area, which will help you apply for benefits, and it doesn't cost a penny.
You know, Liz, there was a story but you know, and we'll bring Sean back in here, but there was a story that broke today that did a very interesting comparison, and basically to sum it up, short and sweet, the comparison was between the Obama administration is going to spend over $4 billion bringing Syrian refugees to this country. At the same time, in this latest budget deal that was just passed, remember, folks, this was a Republican budget deal. The Republicans can't run and say, hey, we're the fiscal hawks, because there's a lot of increased spending in this bill. The deficit's going to go well above $19 trillion with this bill. But yet in this bill, with all of the problems that we have with the VA administration, you're looking at funding being cut to the VA to the tune of $2.8 billion, almost $3 billion. Now, something's not right here, folks. You know, as I was saying at the beginning of the show, you know, something's not right here because of, you know, in the way that our veterans, even our men and women that are serving today, you know, we're cutting troop levels to all-time lows we haven't seen, you know, that we saw before World War II. Is the type of troop levels that we're looking at now, with a very dangerous threat still facing us with the Islamic State and various other things, the rise of the Soviet Union again. And yet we're seeing stuff like this, and Liz is very passionate when it comes to our men and women that have served and continue to serve. And we also have to say thank you to Liz for her service to our country as well. Sean, my friend, while I still got you on the line, man, you got anything you want to plug or talk about?
Well, first of all, I want to talk about how it's a complete embarrassment to our nation that we'll leave veterans who've served our nation by the wayside but dump millions of dollars into refugees. And I'm sorry that they're in the situation they're in, but we've had people in this country that volunteer their lives to protect our freedoms that we're given the shaft to. But that being said, you can find me every Wednesday night on the Fact Hits radio show, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, shrmedia.com, and I'm on Twitter and Facebook and all that other junk.
Oh my gosh, we got 5 minutes left, and surely we can fill the last 5 minutes. Sean and Liz, this is something tonight, and you guys know that this has been something that my own show I put kind of on the back burner for the last year when we launched the broadcast portion on Pundit Press, and then of course bringing on SHR Media as as our broadcast partner has really helped out. And now it's time for me to start doing this again. And I could not have thought of a better way to kick everything back off tonight than to bring Liz. Folks, if you have not had the opportunity to go and listen to some of the great shows that Liz and I did, Liz has all of those shows up on YouTube, and I think her website as well. Please go back and listen to those. Liz is going to be a fixture on this program every Monday night. Basically, Liz is going to come on, and you know what? 5, 10, 15 minutes, however much time Liz wants, I will set aside to her, and she's going to come, and we're just going to turn her loose. She'll come on and talk about if she wants to talk about inspirational subjects, if she wants to talk about the military. Something's just totally made her mad that day. Every Monday we're going to turn Liz loose, and I'm really looking forward to her being a part of the program every Monday. Sean, my friend, I always look forward to, as Sean, Sean and I have an inside joke about me being the second best newsman in the business, and I take a lot of ribbing from Sean on Sackheads. I mean, a lot of ribbing I take.
It's old timer.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. So it's always, guys, you're two very, very dear friends to me, and it is amazing how we have come together. I always believe things happen for a reason. I always believe that there's something divine and God works in mysterious ways, and there's a reason that God has brought Sean and I together to be with our partnership that we have. It led to us to become very, very good friends as well. And the same thing with Liz. There's a reason that God has brought all of this together, not only in this professional sense, but in a friendship sense as well. So folks, I really look forward to the future, and look forward to you guys being a part of this venture as we try to save our country and defend this country so it is still here for future generations. Sean and Liz, thanks a lot for being on the show tonight.
Dan, it's such a pleasure.
You bet.
And we're glad to have you back on the airwaves.
Oh, you bet. I'm looking forward to it. In case you couldn't tell, I had a little passion to start the show tonight. Well, folks, once again, you've been listening to News and Commentary with Dan Butcher. You'll be able to listen to the show are you ready, folks? Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on Pundit Press Radio, SHR Media, Blog Talk Radio, Speaker, various other outlets at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am the one and only Dan Butcher. I'm also the editor-in-chief of Pundit Press. Make sure to check out the website at punditpress.com. I'll be back with you again tomorrow night, same time, same place. Thank you, and God bless everyone.